Squint.
This video is sponsored by Squarespace. The Maxime Luku of website builders. A quick rebrand there. And if indeed your business, website, or perhaps, I don't know, church dedicated to a world-class Scrum Half that is a legitimate religion, don't ask any questions, is looking for a quick rebrand, perhaps you could consider using Squarespace, the world's finest website builder. Not only are their features easy to use, allowing you to build or rebuild, indeed, a full website in mere, half an hour, putting the whole thing together from scratch, or indeed rebuilding from scratch, their new advanced integrated SEO tools with meta descriptions, optimized sitemaps, all sorts will have you popping up on the front page of search engines quicker than Luku jumped ahead of JGP in the Bold Scrum Half power rankings. If that all sounds lovely to you, then why not head to the link in the description and use the offer code SQUIDRUGBY to save yourself some money.
Hello, it's me. Just over a week ago, we had an email from a representative of the Six Nations threatening legal action if we continue to use footage during the remainder of this year's Men's Six Nations. Now, in the past, we've had a really positive relationship with the Six Nations. We've always had dialogue. We've had kind of informal agreements throughout the years, going back quite a long way now. So this came as something of a shock. However, in the interest of keeping up that relationship, continuing it, we are going to, for the sake of this video, use a kind of experimental hybrid format. I want to stress this is not the plan to do this full time going forward, but much as in the World Cup previously, we're going to try and use stills. We're going to try and do things slightly differently. And I apologize, you're going to see more of my face. Winning is one thing, but doing it your own way is quite another. This weekend, France took control of the Men's Six Nations for 2025 as they pulled off a complete demolition of Ireland in Dublin, dismantling a team that on 45 minutes looked set to secure a Grand Slam in a week's time. This was one of the all-time great French performances, not just because of the quality or what they achieved, but because the performance was so damned French. It was beautiful to watch. Running rugby, free-flowing, all of their star players up and going, even without the keyboard maestro. France were irresistible, playing some brilliant rugby, scoring 42 points against an Irish side who generally don't let in a lot of tries. France were just rampant, playing with such brilliant, fluid motion that it prompts just a few questions. How did they do it? What exactly did they do? Because we're all kind of still in disbelief that it happened. Is this a problem for Ireland? And most importantly, how likely are they to go the step further next week and secure the Six Nations title in Paris? Considering with a few minutes to go, the scoreboard looked like this, it's quite easy to forget that for the first 45, 50 odd minutes in Dublin this weekend, Ireland were broadly in control of the game, particularly over an opening stanza in which they were borderline dominant on everything but the scoreboard. The Prendergang using a really smart, accurate kicking game to control basically every aspect of the play. France's entire game plan is based around kicking long. They want to take the ball and pump it as deep as they can. They hung 2 contestable kicks all game long, instead focusing almost the entirety of their 33 kicks on Saturday on hitting it long, be that through the fly half and fullback, kicking deep, trying to find grass, or at scrum half, Dupont and Luku, pumping it as deep as they can. The idea, as they've been doing for several years, is to pump it long and send up an accurate chase all together and linked up, looking to gradually push the opposition back, get your defence on top and hopefully force them into kicking it ideally loose in return to create an opportunity to counter-attack and broken field scenarios. And yet, Ireland's tactical response to this was incredibly smart. This sequence is a perfect summation of how Ireland were able to dismantle France's tactics and take control of that first half, particularly that opening quarter. Off a line-out deep in their own territory, Ireland throws the front to give quick ball and prevent France's line speed having a trigger, something to kind of set their defence to work off, and send it straight to the Prenderchild, who bangs it in the air. And this is a brilliant kick. Not that you can see it, you can't see this. You're having to imagine a brilliant kick. It comes across the face of the 15-metre, Penno deep in the backfield, so Osborne is against a backtracking Luku, and eventually the winger, who has to accelerate so hard to even reach the ball, knocks it on, granting Ireland a scrum. And from that scrum, they decide to play. It's a simple wraparound with 2 really wide passes from Gibson Park and then Prenderboy to get Osborne, owner of the biggest boot on the field without Lowe in the picture, outside the French defence. He puts in a grubber, which is likely bouncing somewhere into the French 22, except Beep Beep gets a foot to it, just causing a deflection, which allows Nash to then regather. Ireland play a phase, and then a moment later, it's so weird not need to fast forward footage as I'm saying that, it's novel, you could say. Robbie Henshaw pops up and just puts through a grubber into the territory. This is how Ireland played all day long. They looked to push France back, time on time, and look to create situations from which they could pressure the players at the back. Because the thing is, this French team play the game their own way. 2 years ago, Ireland put incredible pressure on Thomas Ramos, causing him to make a huge number of errors, giving Ireland ball inside the French 22 and around that half. However, this year, they had even more players to target. Ramos is safe as houses under the high ball, but it's once he catches it that things start to get difficult. So he looks to put him in situations where he'll be under pressure and perhaps make the kind of mad decisions he always does for Toulouse. With most players, when you'd say you have no idea what they're going to do when they get the ball, you mean, will they do a little step on the left, a little step on the right, or will they do maybe a little cheeky kick? With Thomas Ramos, he's just as likely to punch the referee or perhaps just send it backwards into row Z. He could do literally anything, and Ireland knew that and looked to capitalise, especially with only one of the 2 players, Andermatt and Dupont, who normally bail him out for Toulouse, available and on the field for most of this game. And yet, you also had Louis Bielbiere, a player high on confidence, so much that he's doing cross kicks backwards inside his own 22 on Saturday, and Damien Penaud. 2025 Damien Penaud has the vibe of a bored aristocrat in the French Renaissance who's just chopping hands off peasants and setting fire to his own knees for a quick giggle, for a bit of amusement, and so anything can happen when that guy got the ball. And we saw that take place. Here, for example, Damien Penaud tries to run the ball out of his own 22, gets caught, and Doris bravely wins a turnover. Admittedly, it bobbles into such a moment later, but he still managed to steal the ball from putting that pressure on. The aforementioned cross kick backwards from Bielbiere. By sticking the ball down in the corners time after time, Ireland were able to put France under so much pressure, knowing these players do mad things. Because the aftermath of that beep cross kick is the worst case scenario for Ireland for many of these. That France managed to get the ball up to halfway from pumping it long in return. It leaves them in complete control of the game, able to have another stab, put through another kick, have another go at leaving them pinned back. It gave Ireland almost a monopoly of territory and pretty strong control of possession as a result, because France were doing nothing but kicking the game back. I meant kicking the ball back, but actually that's quite a fitting way of putting it, because it just put the entire game in Ireland's hands. We see it right after the line-out from Penaud clearing off that bizarre cross kick. Prendergast just hangs it straight in the air behind where Dupont is still retreating. However, Dupont anticipates it much better than Lucu in the previous example, and it allows him to get under the ball and pump it back long. Yet, in return, the Prender kid just takes it, hangs another brilliant bomb, and Keenan gets to it first. Ireland also just straight up refused to engage with France on their own terms in any kick battles. Prendergast here, for example, taking a minor win instead of, as most teams would, going back and forth, looking to beat France at the thing they're so good at. Just putting the ball in his touch and going, okay, you have it in your own half here. These little kicks gave Ireland almost complete control of the game. They were able to manufacture chance after chance to score point after point. And yet, over that opening stanza, Ireland scored 0 points from their first 5 visits to the 22. This is due in part to some absolutely exceptional French defence. It's harder to highlight without footage, so I'm going to have to skim over it a little bit, but Francois Croce was absolutely unbelievable. A couple of tackles he put in, particularly this one on Dan Sheehan, just tugging his legs back, meaning that he can't use his own momentum, meaning that once he hits Uni Antonio, as most things do, it's just plam, stop, down to ground. Absolutely brilliant tackle. Gregory Aldry also outstanding in the sequence. France's line speed exceptional, being able to shut Ireland down, not giving them any time on the ball. There's also moments, speaking of Francois Croce, like this. After France survive quite a long sequence, they kick it long as per, the line sets, And as Calvin Nash runs it back, he looks to just slalom into a little bit of space where there's a few French defenders kind of disconnected. He sees there's 2 green shirts there, so there should be someone about to clear out. However, what he doesn't notice is one of those shirts is Jamison Gibson Park, who is naturally, as a scrum half, going to wait behind for other players to come in and clear out for him. So it leaves basically Andrew Porter on his own around this breakdown. So as they notice this, in comes Jean-Baptiste Gros, who just stands in Porter's way, just braces a shoulder to block him coming through and allows Francois Crows to get over the ball and win a turnover, which France pump long into the opposition half, and before we know it, they are scoring the first points of the game. And that opening try, scored, of course, because, why wouldn't it be, by Louis Bielbarré, is brilliant. It is basically France at their absolute best. It is an example of what they do in attack. It's both a pre-call, a move designed, and also instinctive, brilliant play on the fly. France here throw to the tail, right? So they want the ball to go as far beyond as they can, and they start to deliberately crab inwards towards the post, opening up a massive blindside. This is very much deliberate. This is the plan. You can see Peter Mavaca at one point pop his head up to check with Dupont, have they gone far enough in field? He's watching the entire time. Roman Untermack, meanwhile, is behind the ruck. He's hiding on the open side, not interested, not involved, until the moment that Dupont gives a little call. At which point, Untermack floods round to the far side and he engages. He looks to just run a line to get in Prendergast's eye line. And this is the moment where Dupont goes for magic. France's system is so built around giving Dupont situations to pull magic ball, to do magical things. And this is just brilliant. The moment he skips outside Peter Omani, he suddenly has all the options available to him. All he has to do is to scan in real time what are the Irish defenders doing. And without even having the time to assess what Prendergast is going to go for, he's able to look up, go, okay, I'm pretty sure he's going to go for Untermack here because that's where he's just glanced first. In a split second, he reads that and chucks the ball over the top to Bielbarré, who just dots it down. And this pass is one of the best passes you'll see all year, especially now that he's not going to play for the rest of the year. He won't get a chance to beat his own record. It is just phenomenal, right? And not that you can see it again. I don't know why I'm talking it up, but if you go back and watch it on the highlights, it's so fast initially, and the way it just dies down at the last second, you can't tell it because it's a still, means that it lands in Beep Beep's hands, allows him to accelerate onto it. He's not struggling to take the ball. He's not having to slow his momentum. He's able to take it at top speed and dot it down in the corner. It's such a brilliantly worked try. France giving a situation, creating a situation where both their pack can get on top, and if that doesn't work, Dupont can pull some bullshit by creating this short side through the pack's movements and deliberate crabbing outwards from throwing to the tail. It's a brilliant try, but it was also only just the start. Ireland then did a really good job of getting themselves back in the game, kicking 2 penalties, managing to take control, keeping to the game plan that had worked thus far, managing to keep France back in their own 22, giving them absolutely nothing. France may have led at the break, but make no mistake, Ireland were in control of this game, and that only doubled once Dan Sheehan went over for their opening try shortly after half-time. And yet, somewhere in the next few minutes, after that try, the entire complexion of the Six Nations for 2025 changed. To give an even further peek behind the curtain than you're already getting by having to look at my face, and I'm really quite sorry about that, it is very much one made to be hidden behind a voiceover. Generally, when going over games, when looking to analyse and reflect and review games, what I'd look to do, if there is a situation like this where one team is in control and then the other team goes on and wins it, particularly in the fashion France did, you look for a moment in which something changes. You look for a pattern. You look for anything they were doing in the second half that they weren't doing in the first half. Any new tactics that come into play? Did they change the way they were kicking? Did they change the way they were defending? Did they start running a different pattern in attack? And yet, to look at France in the second half, literally nothing changed. They didn't change any aspect of how they were playing. They didn't change any element of what they were doing. There was no tactical shift whatsoever. What did change is they got one moment of luck and they rode it. One moment that turned not just the game, but this year's Six Nations in a heartbeat. And it's here. It's one moment most people probably forgot, but right after taking the kickoff from the first try by Dan Sheehan, Ireland take it in, and France make a brilliant contact in the following phase as Ireland is setting up to box kick. They manage to smash them back, catch them around the 22, making some 5-10 metres, and from there, Gibson Park sets up to hang this box kick into the tram lines. And it is on the wrong side of the field for a right-footed kicker, meaning that if he's going to kick this, he's going to have to swing across his body. He's going to have to take this ball and like swing across in order to hang it into this tramline, into this kind of zone he's looking for on that left-hand side of the field, hanging it here. And what he does ultimately is he overhits it ever so slightly. It's such a difficult, underrated skill, this, looking to kick across your body, and it leads to him putting it out on the full and giving France a line out in the 22. And from there, they do not let up. Malvaca makes a great carry, and Doris, who did a frankly kind of all-time poor job of referee management at the weekend, just whining and moaning and getting on the referee's nerves and continuing to do so even after he'd asked him twice to leave him alone, tries to go for quite a risky turnover here, and the moment he flops off his feet, Gardner goes, "No, mate, you're not having this," and sticks his arm out for the penalty advantage. And France go up again. Not that you'll be able to see this, I don't know why I'm telling you. France's structures are so built around playing entirely off 9, but instead of the usual magic Dupont brings, Lukaku just uses that to play fast. Again, I don't know why I'm telling you. You're just going to have to take my word for it. It looks like they're playing very, very static when you look at it here. Whipping the ball away as they get over the game line repeatedly before Untermatt calls it wide. Aldrit's line on the next phase is brilliant. He arcs outwards at Keenan to get the dominant carry rather than running at Van der Fleer, and his ball presentation, as always, is world class. He's by such a distance the best presenter of the ball I've ever seen. He's just absolutely brilliant at it. And it allows Lukaku to play fast, and Untermatt whips it wide. They've got a set move ready to go. In the middle of this, right, as the ball gets wide, Yuli Antonio here just checks Doris and holds him a second, meaning he's slow to get across. Where usually, Doris would be corner flagging, he'd be the catch-up defender looking to adjust and get over and make this tackle, be involved in the tackle, try to slow the ball down or just impact, make a bigger hit. He goes, "Oh, I'm late to get here. I'm just going to fold across. I'm going to get to the other side," because France are clearly going to go that way, and it means his back is turned as the crucial moment comes. Thibaut Flamand makes a fantastic involvement here, clearing out Omani, getting him so far out the game. Omani's little backward steps onto the try and buy penalty, something much discussed. Not for now. Leads to him being so far behind the breakdown that it opens up the hole for 2 moments of bald magic. Jean-Baptiste Gros and then Maxime Lukaku throwing brilliant little cat flap offloads. These offloads eventually putting Paul Bourdon over for the most Rugby Challenge 2 try of 2025. It's France keeping the ball alive, keeping it in play and doing that thing they do brilliantly, never quite letting up from the moment Ireland make a mistake. Their kicking game over that opening stanza was pretty much flawless. They were brilliant at it, yet the moment they mishit one ball, suddenly France take control of the game that they just don't relinquish. It's like they're playing pool. The two teams are playing pool. Ireland looked set to be about to win, and then right as about to put the 8 ball, they just knock the cue into the corner pocket, and France don't give them another turn the entire way, putting ball after ball after ball, only giving Ireland a chance to, knock in that last ball they needed to, and after the game's already basically done as a contest, after they've already won. They just didn't let up, didn't give any momentum from the moment they got it. Ireland, frankly, respond to that try well initially, continuing their kicking tactics, looking to continue the game plan that had worked for them up until then, pinning France back. And yet, for whatever reason, now that they were in the game, now that they felt in control, France proceeded to do it their way. And their way, namely, was building a monument to utter bullshit. Now, I've said this a few times over the course of the Six Nations and various things around the channel and on another channel as well, saying that basically the most valuable commodity in Test Rugby in 2025, if we're to go on the basis of this tournament, is now something I would refer to as the bullshit player. That's any player who is able to create something out of absolutely nothing, who if you give them a one-on-one scores a try. If you give them a moment of an opposition standing off and jockeying them instead of making a tackle initially, can bust through and make a try. It's players who can create something out of absolutely nothing. And France are packed with more bullshit players than any other team in the world, led, of course, by the form player on the planet right now, Louis Biel-Biarré. The game over the last few years has been so built on structure that it's natural that it's swung in the other direction. Basically, if you don't have the structure, you will lose the game. But if you can't break your own structure, if you can't take it and do something more, if you can't open the game up and move beyond it, you're probably not going to win either, unless you're playing a team notably worse than you, which I think Ireland have been doing for a lot of this year's championship. Beep Beep's second try begins with Ireland doing exactly the thing they did so well over the entire game. It's a superb kick by Gibson Park. He hangs it almost perfectly, unlike the previous one, and isolates Penno, who looks about to be turnovered. Turned over is the phrase, but we'll go with turnovered. There's about to be more Irish players than French around here, so the turnover's possibly coming, yet Ramos goes, you know what, this time I'll try running down the sideline where there are 3 Irish players instead of on the open side where there are none. And he goes for a ridiculous little kick. He chips it in, he doesn't even really sprint after it and allows Gibson Park to take it quite cleanly. However, a big change has taken place over the few minutes leading into this, for France have brought on quite a few of their 7-1 bench. And this allows Anthony Jalonge and Dorian Aldegheri to blitz this breakdown. The work of Jalonge working upwards, driving players off the ball is brilliant and wins it back for France. And this leaves Ireland in the worst possible position you can be in rugby if you're a defensive team. You're playing off both kick return, where your defence hasn't had a chance to get back and organise properly, and also turnover, where your defence is set as an attacking structure and so isn't flat into a line yet. And it is utter chaos. France get it out and Penno, up to his feet quickly, comes in round and runs a lovely arcing line. However, I do want to point out Roman Untermack, who holds himself here and is chatting, is just being involved in order to draw Bundy Arky's eye line, yet doesn't call for the ball. He isn't interested in having it. He just wants to draw Arky's eyes away so Penno can do his thing. He trusts his winger implicitly. Penno getting on the outside, looking up and seeing on the outskirts who should be there but Beep Beep. He throws a long ball over the top and BLBRA eats up just enough of the yards before putting in his trademark little kick. And the most ridiculous part of this one of all is that he's put this in field for Maxime Lucu to score off, yet he is so fast that he catches up and gets there himself. He takes the ball under the posts whilst doing a little grubber for himself. He's just like utterly ridiculous and manages through sheer bullshit of both him and Penno and Ramos to create a try out of absolutely nothing from a really, really good Irish kick. And this just became a theme of the day. Ramos's intercept being another perfect example, putting Penno over for the score. And the size of that pack continues to make such a difference, particularly in the try for Oscar Jégu, who was superb off the bench, playing in the unfamiliar position of 13. Perhaps the most difficult position to defend on the field, and yet he was superb there. Over continuous phases in the lead up to this sequence, France just line up Emmanuel Miafu against Caelan Doris. Now, Doris is one of the best defensive players in the world. He has one of the highest work rates in the world. He's one of the best tacklers in the world. His dominant tackle count is incredible. Yet, Emmanuel Miafu is a big lad. He is a big boy. He is about the size of like a 4-bed probably terrace house, maybe even 6-bed, depends on the area you're living in. You know, some pack it in very close. And as such, Doris is not going to be able to do a great job tackling him. He's the most difficult player, so they get their best tackler off his feet by doing so. Miafu is just continuously making these great carries. He's come on, he's fresh, he's only been on for a few minutes, and Doris is having to struggle to get there. And it leaves France's other best carriers, the likes of Aldrit, able to pick more interesting lines, able to line themselves up against backs and props and get these dominant carries they're looking for, until eventually we end up in this situation. Miafu, with Doris out the game, lines up against James Lowe. And James Lowe goes, ah, shit, and puts all of his focus on Miafu, and as such, leaves Tadhg Beirne with too much space either side of him. He hasn't really filled in around this breakdown because he's so focused on tackling Miafu. And it allows Jégu to do something brilliant. He picks up the ball and turns his back into Doris. He's the one that initiates the initial contact, meaning that Beirne takes him in an awkward position where he can only really wrangle him and kind of wiggle him like a massive fish. And it means that he can flop over and just about reach out and score the try by initiating the contact himself, by tackling Beirne almost, instead of allowing himself to be tackled. It's brilliant and just a testament to the size of that pack they brought on, who were so good at just keeping that dominance up, as well as shutting Ireland down and not allowing them any gain line ball when they did manage to get hold of possession. Ireland are the most structured, rigorous, brilliant team at playing organised rugby on the planet at the minute. They play a fluid, regimented, brilliant, high-tempo game of rugby that most teams can't live with. Yet, with James Lowe and Mac Hansen missing on Saturday, they suddenly felt slightly short of bullshit. They were creating chances, and yet when it came time to break the game open and play looser, as teams have been doing right throughout this tournament, none better than France, Ireland couldn't really do that. They were missing their key guys to play that loose bullshit rugby. It's really hard to know what to think of this game from an Irish perspective because they played an accurate game plan that shut France down and they played it incredibly well. And yet they conceded 42 points, only 3 fewer than Wales, than Wales, and were left in a situation where suddenly they've lost control of a championship that they, with 35 minutes to go, felt like they were about to win. From an Irish perspective, you're probably sat wondering what happened, what went on, what went wrong, because so little changed in that second half. France didn't change their game plan, and Ireland didn't change theirs, because it had been working so well up until there. It's a bizarre game, but perhaps more a testament to the trends of Test rugby around bullshit players, around forward packs, around bench splits, than it is to the two teams who took part on the field on Saturday. Whilst France were at their brilliant, ruthless best, again using those trends to take control of the game. Untamak having a spectacular game. Luku having one of the best games of his career. Beep Beep continuing his world-beating form, and so many of the forwards. Aldrit was fantastic. Francois Crowe was fantastic. The front row played really, really well, quite quietly, as that bench were brilliant, making a huge impact. The likes of Miafu and Jegu, absolutely phenomenal. They now welcome Scotland to Paris, knowing that the championship title is within their reach, within their own hands. It could even be theirs by the end of the day if other results go their way. And yet, Ireland now sit there, thinking, knowing they let this chance for a rare Grand Slam slip away. Heading to Rome with desperation in their hearts, knowing if they're to win it, they'll need to make up some 70 points on points difference. And yet, perhaps the one redeeming feature of this whole afternoon competition, and perhaps what could be quite a troubling Super Saturday, is that this entire way, and indeed this Super Saturday, if they are to go there, if they are to go all the way and they are to win the Six Nations, they absolutely will have done it their own way.
Thanks for watching that. I realise it wasn't ideal, but thank you for sticking with it. I hope you enjoyed it. This is not the plan to do this full time. Very much an emergency measure. We've got more likewise on our second channel, looking at the other games of the weekend and another topic as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of them where we're going to be talking to each other about these sorts of things.
Not always this close.
Not always this close, no. We still have to keep a bit of distance. Yeah. And obviously the normal format that you are used to, which we're used to.
That's what we want to go back to. That's the plan.
Yes. But for the time being, I hope you've enjoyed this video regardless. There's a great video on Warren Gatland calling Wales woke, if you want to go and watch that. And otherwise, as you say, just more stuff on the Men's Six Nations.
Yeah, plus the Women's Six Nations coming up. Plus there's loads more we've got planned for post that, heading into the end of the domestic season. So we'll see you very soon for more Rugby!
They now welcome Scotland to Paris, knowing that the championship, the title, is within their reach. They now welcome Scotland to They now welcome Scotland